Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. I'm going to jump right into it. For one, today's a hat day. Due to everything being down yesterday, my internet was out, and then Facebook was down, Instagram was down, WhatsApp was down. I couldn't access Zoom to get interviews done. It was just a really bad day, so I lost the day, and I stayed up all night trying to catch up on some things. I did have a few candidate interviews scheduled for yesterday. Before everything shut down, I was able to complete one of those, so I was able to get that done, and I will have that posted later today, and then all the other candidate interviews should be back on schedule, and I'll be posting those throughout the month. We're less than 30 days now away from the election, which is November 2nd, and that is for your Pittsfield City Council, Pittsfield School Committee, and I believe Michelle Benjamin, our city clerk, is on the ballot also, unopposed or uncontested, but I believe she is on the ballot also. So anyways, I will be back on those the rest of the week, and I'll be putting the first candidate interview out with Ward 2 candidate Charles Cronick sometime later this afternoon or this evening. Also, last Friday, at the last minute, I threw together a standout at Park Square, and it was in response to a lot of the violence in our public schools. There was a big incident at Reed, and there was one at Taconic that a student filmed and put on YouTube, and it really brought it out into the forefront. It was a very violent fight with a couple teachers that were injured, and it got a lot of attention. It hit the media. It was on cable. The Berkshire Eagle covered it. The superintendent has made a couple statements on it on the radio, and so on. So I organized that standout at the last minute, and I knew as soon as I posted it, there was many people that said they wanted to go, they couldn't, it was too short of a notice, and I understood that completely. I also know there were people who didn't see that post until hours after the standout was over. So I guess where I was a little irritated with that is there was quite a few people that asked me to do that, and I was on the fence about doing it on such a short notice, but it's such an important issue, and parents, and a lot of parents, very, very upset and in fear, and quite a few that messaged me and said, no matter what, that's it, I'm pulling my kids out of there. That's not good. So I felt that this should be at the forefront of the community right now. It's a huge issue, and nobody wants to wait till something horrible, horrible happens, and nobody wants that to happen. So I feel it's that important to keep on this. The superintendent released a statement because you have some people in the city, specifically, there's some city councilors that believe school resource officers are detrimental. They do. They believe it causes harm in the school. I don't get where they're coming from with that, but that's their point of view. And the superintendent said they were going to hire a consultant team to come in and study this, and sometime in April or May they'll release the results to what this consultant comes up with. I find that crazy. For one, how much are you going to spend on the consultant in April or May? I mean, that's ridiculous. Why not use those funds and get a resource officer back in there? And I get that. I've heard mixed things. I've heard that, well, we don't have the officers. Well, if we can come up with the funding, can't we get one? I bet we could. We have to at least try and work on this. So we're not getting a lot of communication on this subject. There's a petition going around that was started by Steve White and his wife April that has almost 2,500 signatures. It might have that many already. This is a huge issue, and it seems to me that overwhelmingly teachers and parents, from the ones I've spoken to and I've seen on that petition, that overwhelmingly they want a resource officer back in the schools. Taconic, I think it was 1990 or 91 when it had its first resource officer. For 30 years we've had a resource officer, and just recently have they cut back on that, and since they did, we've seen these problems escalating. Now, of course, a resource officer is not going to fix everything. It's a piece of the puzzle, but it's an important piece of the puzzle. Just like when you go into a federal building, you go through security. Just like when you go into a courthouse and there's bailiffs. just like if you go to a nightclub and there's bouncers. It should be top priority of having a trained professional in a public space like that is full of hundreds and hundreds of children. Why wouldn't you want a trained professional there in the event of something horrible that they can control that situation and act appropriately? You can't leave that on teachers. So not only are we having an alarming amount of students choicing out, we have an alarming amount of teachers leaving. So this Friday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. we are gathering at Park Square again and showing our support for school resource officers in our public schools. It's that important. Let's not wait for something horrible. So I'm going to stay on this. Again, I hope many of you can come. I hope so. I hope this is enough notice. It looks like the weather's going to be nice for this. Even if you can only stay for a few minutes, it is this important, and I hope people do. But I will be there from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at Park Square. Also, again, the candidate videos, that is going. I will get all those out. Another thing I want to mention, and this is just a topic, is social media. And it's obviously being heavily discussed. We've seen this whistleblower that has come out and said that Facebook, through their Instagram platform, was doing some deceptive tactics. And I even heard on one of our local radio stations this morning, one of the hosts saying that, put social media down, you'd be better off for it, and this and that. And, it's funny when I hear other media outlets with that approach. Can social media cause some problems? Sure, I guess, absolutely it can. Anything can be abused, and everything has. Through history, everything has. But it's funny when I hear that, because as someone who came up as a musician and got into the music industry, I remember the days when radio and music was being attacked in the same way that social media is. And social media provides a lot of wealth of information, communication, and again, are there people that use it for the wrong reason? Yeah, well, people do that with everything. You don't do away with the platform. But I remember in music, they were attacking radio stations specifically, saying, this music is killing our kids. Some of these radio stations need to be shut down. They're on 24 hours a day, and these kids are obsessed with it. They don't need to listen to it that much. There were some people that wanted to limit it to a couple hours a day because it was poisoning our youth. And then you had people like Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, who helped put together the PMRC. And just like what we're seeing with social media, you had whistleblowers from record companies coming out saying that the record companies were practicing deceptive tactics and putting hidden messages in there. And because of it, kids were killing themselves and starting to worship the devil. They went after entertainers. And if it wasn't for people like Frank Zappa and people like that came out and really fought this to preserve the industry, we wouldn't have the music we have. We wouldn't have DJs like we have. They went after Howard Stern, other DJs like him, and said he was poison to society. And it wasn't just people talking like that. Similar to what we've seen now, it went to Congress. They did congressional hearings, investigations. Same thing. Look, social media, should it be regulated to some level? Probably. Will it be? Probably. Having freedom of speech, is that important? Yes. Does social media provide a positive outlet for many? Absolutely. I have friends that run e-commerce stores that make a living because of social media. Real estate agents. If you're not posting to social media, you're losing out, because that's become one of the hot spots to sell properties, to sell clothing, to sell automobiles. The Arab Spring, the uprising, was all done through social media and freed people. There's so many positive aspects of it, and to hear a radio station mention that, when I know as a musician, the way it's been for over 10 years now, is if you want to get into the music industry, it's not like the old days where you submit demos and things to record companies. No, the A&Rs, they'll go onto social media outlets and they're looking to see how much traffic you have, how many hits. You kind of have to prove yourself ahead of time. But that's good, because if you're a talented musician, you don't need the Disney machine or all that to guide you. You don't have to play that game where they control the industry. It allowed other artists to be seen, and if you're good, people like you, there's the platform for it. Almost everything you'll hear on the radio now, all those artists were discovered through social media. Most of the stuff out today, I'm not a big fan of at all. But you wouldn't have a Justin Bieber if it wasn't for social media. You wouldn't have any of them if it wasn't for social media. So, does the positive outweigh the bad? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just, some people are afraid of change. They want everything to stay the way it was in the glory days of their youth. You know? And it's happened over and over. And it will continue to. After social media, there'll be some other kind of platform that arises. Who knows what it'll be? And social media companies will do the same things to them, saying they're a detriment. You know, it's just how things work. So, yes, should it be regulated to some extent? Probably. Is it up to parents to decide whether you want to allow your kids to have an Instagram page or a Facebook page and all that? Yeah, that is. That's up to you to do that as a parent. But to say that we should put it away and all that, when I hear another media outlet say that, it kills me, because especially with radio, the radio and music industry was attacked just as heavy. But I can see why some of them say that now, because of social media, you're seeing people are unplugging, disconnecting from cable. Radio, not so hot anymore, because you don't have to listen to all those commercials and craziness. You can just go listen to what you want to. There's plenty of outlets for that. You can go to YouTube, pull up whatever you want, you know, put it through your Bluetooth on your car, and you're listening to whatever you want. Same with Facebook band pages and all that. You can listen to interviews of the artists and listen to their new music and things coming out. There's so many different aspects of it that are good. So don't let a few bad seeds ruin. It's just, I heard it this morning, and I had to talk about this, because I just feel that that's closed-mindedness and people who just don't understand, or maybe they're just trying to protect their own industry. I'm not sure what it is, but you know, it would be just as ridiculous for me to get up here and tell people stop listening to radio. I mean, I would never do that. Everyone has a choice, and that's what makes this country great. So, yeah. Should it be looked into? Yes, if there's a whistleblower and there's something happening, yes. But again, we've seen this over and over. We have. So with every industry, they did it when they moved on from radio to MTV and said, oh my God, look at what it's doing to our youth. And these kids, they're obsessed with it. They're coming home from school and they're not worrying about studying anymore. They're image obsessed and all this. And that's what MTV was doing. It was making everyone image obsessed. And it was going to ruin everything. The youth would be destroyed forever. It's crazy. I mean, the same thing they said about the Beatles. And, you know, the Beatles started out like the Disney machine type music, where they were the first band to be marketed in that way, where they were everywhere. But they were true musicians and smart guys, so when they had the money, they just said, you know what? We're done with all that. Because the Beatles music, that to me, that is the most important of their catalog, and the reason that they're still a relevant band is not I Want to Hold Your Hand and all that stuff. It's Rubber Soul, Revolver, Abbey Road, Sgt. Pepper's. You know, that was the stuff that allowed them to express themselves, and it opened up a whole era of the arts and music. So support social media and support it being used responsibly. And if you're concerned, if you have children, then be a parent and limit that. That's all. I mean, it's the choice of the parent. I mean, I grew up listening to Slayer, Black Sabbath, all that stuff. I didn't start worshiping the devil. I didn't go out and start a cult. I didn't do all the things that people like Tipper Gore said we were going to do. None of that. So, you know, embrace. People shouldn't be so close-minded, really. Social media is a powerful platform, and of course the powers that be, traditional media, print and cable and radio, well, they don't want social media there because it's just taken away from them. But I can promise you they all have social media pages, all of them, and they push it heavy. So, I don't know, I just found it odd to hear that. I really did. And that's why I felt like I had to discuss that a little bit. And it's a big conversation right now. It wasn't just the shutdown yesterday. It was at the same time this whistleblower came out and said, again, that Facebook, through their Instagram platform, were using deceptive tactics, which weren't good. We'll hear the rest of that as it comes out, but you have to hear the whole story. And I just think it's funny. I heard Senator Markey say that social media was the equivalent to the tobacco companies. Well, of course you're going to see a lot of the old school politicians say that stuff too. And why? Because social media gave a platform for people to come up, express themselves, and get into politics and build a following without having to play that game, without having to be part of the problem. It allowed people to really get out and have the tool to reach everybody. So the old school doesn't want it there. It endangers and threatens their power. And that's my point of view, and I believe that. So anyway, that's all. I had to mention this. So again, this coming Friday, October 8th, Park Square, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. We will be up there again. I'm going to be a little more prepared on this one as far as signs. I'm going to have signs for other people if you don't have one to bring. Some of our candidates will be there. I hope it's a strong community gathering. It's a good thing. I mean, engaging with each other. The petition will be available. It's also available online. Steve, if you're watching this, make sure you can post it again to this video. But it's a huge issue, and let's not wait. You know, if we sit around waiting for some consultant to tell us something 6-7 months from now, let's not wait. If this is that important to the majority and they're in support of it, then let's be heard. Express your opinion and let's be heard and see if we can get this accomplished. And we'll continue the fight if we have to. I will. So, it's a hat day, as obviously you can tell. Didn't have time to take care of my beautiful locks. But again, that's it for now. Hopefully the rain stops. Half my yard's underwater and I've got a ton of stuff to do. But I will catch y'all either tomorrow or the day after.